Patreon Q&A number 72, part 2. Part 1 was released earlier today. I still want to thank all 109 of my incredibly overpowered patrons. Your support really means more than you know, guys. So thank you so much. And to everyone else listening, there's going to be spoilers, so tread carefully. Adam EA asks, hello, Shonen, big fan of your content, and I really appreciate your focus on One Punch Man, My Hero, and One Piece since they are the series that I follow currently. It's much appreciated. Hey, thanks, Adam. Your support is much appreciated as well, my friend. Anyway, my question is, which hero system between My Hero and One Punch Man do you prefer? One Punch's system with the Hero Association has its benefits and how there are different classes of pro heroes C through S with different disaster levels for each class, helping determine the different breeds of pro heroes, but the disadvantages lie in how unruly, unreliable the S class are. The competition between fellow pro heroes to rise through the ranks can be brutal and all sorts of corruption. Meanwhile, the My Hero system has the advantages, numbered rankings for everyone through the national billboard charts, and the presence of the hero schools and agencies to teach aspiring pro heroes how to do more than just combat, like rescue and evacuation. But the disadvantages being it's not clear as to what the average pro hero versus above average, like there is in the One Punch Man, that the heroes are government regulated and the vigilantes are frowned upon. Which system do you think is best, or would you prefer a mix between the two? I personally think that the One Punch heroes would greatly benefit from the hero schools and the hero agencies while still possibly keeping concepts like A and S class. I'm curious to hear your response. So yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. It's probably a mixture of the two that would be the best. I don't really prefer one over the other, but if I had to choose, I'd probably pick the My Hero system. It seems better. Seems more professional, honestly. The One Punch hero system is like, I don't know, Wild West stuff, honestly. It reminds me of like YouTube, as to where like pretty much anyone can become a pro hero as long as you just pass the test. And after that, you're kind of just thrown into the deep end. Like, you could become a pro hero one day, and the next day you could just be fighting a monster that you have no business fighting, and then you're going to be killed. There's nothing that you're getting briefed on. There's no training. It's kind of just like, oh, well, sink or swim. As you know, as we established with the My Hero system, there is training, there's schooling, and there's everything that goes into it. And that's also comes into what's currently happening in the Neo Heroes arc, or what was happening with the, I'll say, storyline. We don't even know when the arc's coming, but the Neo Heroes was trying to establish a system to nurture upcoming heroes and train them in things, in proper evacuation and just being a capable fighter and a capable hero and everything like that, as to what's not really currently going on with the Hero Association. And I think that more so goes into the corruption, because the Hero Association is a very corrupt organization, as to where like they'll only let A class and above stay at the new association headquarters, and that's only really so they can protect the rich occupants that they have. So that more so goes into like, a lot of things are messed up with the One Punch system, but I mean, it's purposely written into the narrative, of course. But I do like the ranking system that they have, the C through S class, and I wish they had something more definitive like that in My Hero, as where right now they just have like the top 10 on the billboard charts, and then they do have other rankings outside of that. I think they're listed maybe in the Ultra Analysis book or something like that, or maybe it's made more apparent recently. I know that Mount Lady is ranked like number 23 or something, like a typical ranking that you wouldn't really see. Another benefit that I see from the One Punch Man system is that they pay accordingly to how effective and how useful you are, and I like that also. Like, it's also, going back to YouTube, like, you can start getting paid right away, but it's really how good and effective you are. Like, C-class guys probably get paid like minimum wage or something like that, and then it's kind of implied that like S-class heroes get paid upwards of towards like maybe 7 figures or something like that. And as far as I know, it's never really made too apparent what the pay system like is within the My Hero world. Like, I mean, I guess the more effective and more accomplished as a hero you become, you get paid more and you get more claim and stuff like that, like more cases resolved and stuff like that. We also saw that plays into, upping your ranking and everything. Like, that's why Endeavor was more so ranked number 2 above everybody, because he had like the most cases resolved out of everyone. So I think, like, yeah, in the end, just a combination of the two classes would ultimately bring forth like almost like a near perfect hero system, or as more practical as it could be, I guess. Crusader Deus Vult asks, Deus Vult, Z-Man, how's your day going today? It's going pretty good, Crusader. I hope yours is as well. My first question is, do you think it's possible that Genos will end up defeating one of the cadres, or does he end up meeting Monster King Orochi and killing him off with his final move? So I think it's probably unlikely that he defeats one of the cadres, considering that it doesn't really line up with what happened in the webcomic, and I certainly hope that they keep all of the eventual big defeats the way that they are. Like, I don't want Silverfang to have to trade off him defeating Gums and Gums and Fear Ugly so that Genos can get another win. I think that scene is just perfect, and it just say the way that it is. And other than that, everyone else is kind of accounted for, except for Orochi possibly coming back, which is like, I don't know, maybe like a 15%, 20% chance at this point. So if Orochi does come back, which is ultimately possible, like I discussed in that video, then Genos totally gets that win. It would give him something, you know, to do, and it would finally give him that big moment, which may or may not happen. But aside from that, I don't think Genos will probably get like a massive victory, at least from one of the cadres. My other question is, do you think Saitama will fight God in a different plane of reality so that they can show him destroying that universe, or just show his true powerful? And as always, we will take the Holy Land. If the Holy Land is this YouTube game, then yeah, we will certainly take it, my friend. But I think this is definitely going to happen. As for the different plane of reality, I think he's probably going to take Saitama to a similar place that he took Homeless Emperor, whether that be a literally tangible place, or it's kind of like a Genjutsu realm, kind of like Tsukuyomi. That remains to be seen, but I hope that it's like an alternate dimension or something, so that we can see Saitama's full power, and he winds up destroying that universe or galaxy or whatever. That would just be an epic ending. Like, we finally see Saitama's true power, and it's powerful enough to just blow away like a galaxy or whatever. You know, I'm sure it'll come close to like what we saw at the end of Gurren Lagann. I don't think it'll be that outrageous, but it'll probably be comparable in scope to that. I think that would just be a very fitting ending. Dope Lope asks, Yo Z, I'm a long time lurker on your channel and love your videos. Hey, thanks Dope Lope, I appreciate it. I was watching your discussion video about the My Hero War, and you talked about the future of the series after the current arc. One way I can see the series going is expanding the scope of the story to an international stage. Instead of the villains defeating the heroes and wrecking Japan, they go on to try to destabilize the entire world. Or maybe the My Hero world has their version of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Marvel, who steps in after the heroes are defeated. I see this as an interesting way to extend the series and to show us more of the world. I was just wondering your thoughts on what's going to happen, something like that happening. So I do think something like that is happening, and I wanted to talk about this in that collab, but there was just so much to talk about and I forgot. But I think that another possibility is that if the heroes do wind up losing, that they're going to like migrate to America or something. And then like the latter part of the series will take place there. Like, instead of like Japan is just completely taken over by the Paranormal Liberation Front, and then basically all hero activity that was originally in Japan, like all the students, UA, all that stuff, goes to America, and then they kind of just have to regroup there and reestablish themselves. It's very similar actually to what happened with All Might, because after All Might and Nana and Gran Torino took the big L to All For One initially, All Might went to America. So this could probably be history repeating itself, and then, you know, they could go there and then reestablish themselves, because Horikoshi, you know, he is kind of a Westaboo. He loves America, at least from what we know. So it would be cool to see his interpretation of what hero society in America is like, because we do know that they do have a society over there. They do have heroes. We saw them in the My Hero movie, the Two Heroes movie. So I think that would be awesome if that happened. Or like what you're saying with S.H.I.E.L.D., them stepping in, I think that would be incredible as well. And then they tried to like, there was like this secret Avengers thing going on, or maybe like the Illuminati in the Marvel comics. That would be a cool way of introducing more new super powerful characters as well. Flashy Flash asks, hello Shonen, what's up? My first question is, how strong was All Might's plus Ultra Punch? How much % of All Might's power was in it? So I think it was definitely 100% of All Might's power at base, and then he had to tap into the Vestige's power to boost it up. So I don't think it was 1,000,000% the way that Izuku was talking about. I think that was just extreme hyperbole and probably just hyped up that scene. I mean, if it was like 1,000,000%, he would have vaporized not only muscular, but the entire environment around him. I think he probably went to like, I don't know, like 500, I don't know, some absurd amount of power. I mean, it was just All Might's power. He was already at his 100% max. And then the Vestige's power tapping into it maybe brought him back closer to what his prime was like. So, and that'll probably give you like a better perspective of what was going on into it, because if you're comparing the punches that he did to the USJ Nomu before that, and then the one mega punch blasted him out of the friggin' the USJ place into the stratosphere. So I'm thinking that it probably pushed him, like I said, closer to his prime, way over 100% of what his current power was at that point, because he was being supplemented by the other users of the One for All's power. Or all for, One for All. My second question is, what will happen if Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls and Saitama fought? Thanks, bro. So I'm not too familiar with Gravity Falls, but I did look up this character, and it appears like he's one of those near omnipotent, crazy, like in-between dimensional beings of power. So it's really unknown at this point how Saitama deals with those type of characters, because we haven't really seen him go against anything like that yet. And that's why I always say, like, when we see him go against God, then we'll know how he deals with those. But as of right now, I'm unsure. Maybe he could brute force through that. Maybe he's just so unfairly powerful that, like, crazy, like, dream type powers. And also I know that the Bill Cipher can come into reality, and then he's near omnipotent in reality as well. It's like, does that affect him? Can he just brute force over it? At this point, I'm unsure, but just for now, I'll say that Bill Cipher probably wins until we see what Saitama can do against those type of beings. And then my second question is, how would you rank the My Hero intros? I'd rank them from best to worst. OP 1, 4, 2, 3, 6, 5, 7. Thanks, bro. By the way, why didn't you do a video about Chapter 259? I did do Chapter 259 review yesterday. Please check it out if you haven't already. But as for my rankings, I would put OP2 first. I love that song. It's like, and then OP1 I think is probably the second best, and then I like 4. That's great. I keep my ideals. 5, 6, 7 is okay, and then I don't really like 3 the most. Not that it's bad, it's just my least favorite. Frozenmeal asks, hey Z, I would really like to hear more of your thoughts on the last 2 webcomic chapters. How did you feel about the writing quality? I feel like My Mask hit us with a ton of information, both explicit and implicit, and hearing your take always helps me process what's going on. Big time. Thanks, man. So yeah, we did get a lot of info. I think that the writing was great. As always, one is like one of the best battle mangakas writers there is, in my opinion, and not just because I'm a stan. I mean, I'm a stan because of the writing, but we got more insight into the history of the world. Dev finally confirming that there is one massive supercontinent in the One Punch Man world, and that basically all of society came together in the middle of the supercontinent, meaning that most of the cities that we hear of aren't necessarily populated to the full extent. And I guess that's where like the monsters, the big powerful monsters, are kind of residing, because everyone kind of ran away from them. And also, like, that goes into like what's going on with the other continents in the world. Like, are those uninhabited places? Are there people there? Are there super powerful monsters there? Or that's where the above dragons are? Is that where the god monsters are? I'm sure that will get expanded upon in the future too. And then also it gives some insight into the history of the world, as well as with how monsters started appearing when like the global warming and all that intense stuff started happening after the war. So that, like, were the monsters product of that? Was God, like, is God actually the earth? Was he awakened by all of the battles and stuff? Did he create the monsters as like a natural defense mechanism to take over humans? And then that goes into monsterification with what My Mask is talking about, how it's really nuanced now, and how he's becoming a monster, although he became what he ultimately wanted, in being super handsome. So does that also mean that the monsterification was caused by God, and that if you kill God, does that mean that all of the monsters become humans again, and that Saitama, the power that he's tapping into, is the same that a My Mask and Garo's tapping into, and that if God dies, does that power become erased, and does Saitama go back to normal? Something that actually Murata talked about, which may or may not seem like that is like possibly what's going on ultimately with the story. But as for where things are headed now, I think what happens with the My Mask and the Clown Monster, I think this might be an introduction for the Neo Heroes to show up, and they probably try to take down the Clown Monster, and then a My Mask meets up with the Neo Heroes, and they talk it out, and they're like, oh, hey, you want to abolish the S-Class too? So do I. Let's link up. You can be the face of the Neo Heroes, and then maybe that's where the story goes from there. Geruda asks, hey, Shonen, here's another versus question. Who do you think would win between Awakened Shigaraki with the Area of Effect Disintegration and Shisaki on Trigger? Thanks, keep up the good work. Hey, thanks, Geruda. Thanks you for the support. So I think that this is a really bad matchup for Chisaki, regardless of the power-ups that they have. So Chisaki on Trigger, that's awesome to think about. I assume that he'll probably be similar to Wolfram at the end of the My Hero 2 Heroes movie. If you haven't seen it, just look up like the final battle on YouTube. I'm sure it's on there. Wolfram becomes like this massive like skyscraper crazy being, and I'm sure that Chisaki on Trigger can replicate something like that. Also, it kind of reminds me of what happens in One Piece Stampede. I don't want to spoil it for you in case you haven't seen it. But as for Shigaraki with his Awakened quirk, I think it's just too bad of a matchup for Chisaki. And then, how Chisaki relies on the environment essentially to get the best of his quirk, as where Shigaraki just keeps destroying it with his own quirk. So regardless of how powerful Chisaki comes with this, the Awakened Decay quirk from Shigaraki is just ultimately going to keep destroying what Chisaki is manipulating and eventually catch up to him. Even if he tries to run away with it like pillars or whatever, it's just ultimately going to catch up to him. Not to mention like the speed and reflex boost that Shigaraki gets in this Awakened state. I just think he'd ultimately overcome Chisaki way before Chisaki would be able to overcome him. But anyone else is probably going to have an extremely difficult time dealing with Trigger Chisaki. Kyrin asks, hey G, just want to let you know you got my name right. Alright, cool, we're on the same page. And my first question is, Metalbat versus Hulk, with both of their powers being similar, I always wondered how the fight would go between them. Who do you think with their uncanny tank and damage potential would push to beat the other? Also, I think that their feats are relatively the same with a giant creature charging both of them. This is the Avengers 2012 Hulk. So yeah, this MCU 2012 Hulk is a good matchup for Metalbat because obviously the comic Hulk would just wash pretty much anyone. I don't even know that much about him, but I know enough to know that. But yeah, the big Chitauri thing that charges Hulk is kind of similar to Metalbat getting charged by Elder Centipede, but of course Elder Centipede is like way bigger than the Chitauri thing. I think if we're comparing Hulk's like feats from the movie, which are closer to reality, I would say way closer to our own reality than what Metalbat's feats are. Given that, Metalbat would probably win, considering that he just seems stronger. But also, we're comparing outrageous anime interpretation to like a closer to reality one. But I would just probably give it to Metalbat here. He probably has more physical strength and more durability and more of a ability to push farther than at least the MCU Hulk, at least from the first Avengers movie, just in my opinion, of course. Second question, in season 1, when the hero organization is having a meeting and they were talking about Genos joining the S-Class in episode 5, they mentioned his past and that they found the cyborg that they were looking for. Being the Hero Association, I'm sure they keep records of things like that so they could deal with it. Do you think that might be a slight clue to him being the Mad Cyborg? Although they might be referring to him destroying the House of Evolution, but that doesn't seem like something they would refer to in the past as more of a recent event. I'm rewatching the anime and it caught my attention, so I thought I'd get your view on it all. Anyway, love the vids, man. Keep up the great work. Hey, thanks, Kyrin. I appreciate it. So yeah, they are definitely talking about him taking out the House of Evolution here. They're also referring to him like going around and just being a vigilante in general, like when he takes out Mosquito Girl, and he's also done things before that. He kind of just built up his reputation of taking out the House of Evolution. They're not talking about the Mad Cyborg here because when they're referring to Genos, like when they're talking amongst themselves and when they have Genos in the meeting and when they they stamp the S-Class on his application, when they're talking to a My Mask as well, they're like speaking of him in like a good manner, like he's done good. They're happy that he took out the House of Evolution. If they were referring to the Mad Cyborg, they wouldn't be on board with it because he killed a whole bunch of civilians and everything, and obviously they would want the Mad Cyborg to come to justice for that. They would want to take him out. So they're more so talking about Genos' good feats, and I don't think they're thinking of him being in the Mad Cyborg. And they do have an account of the Mad Cyborg. He is registered as being a person within the Hero Association. This is revealed in chapter, I think, 108 of the webcomic when Saitama is talking to Genos about that stuff. MrAwsome asks, hey Z, what's up? Anyway, I think I got some pretty good questions this week. My first question is, what if Pre-Will Garo and Awakened Cockroach fused using the Potara earrings? How powerful do you think Awakened Garo would be? And how do you think they would stack up against a true Awakened Garo? So as far as I know, Potara fusion is like one character times the other character in strength, something like that, as far as I remember the multiplier being. So that would mean like Pre-Will Garo, Mid-Dragon, times Awakened Cockroach, who's like a high demon, going against an above dragon. I don't think it's probably going to be enough. I do think it's funny, your naming here, of course, but I think that you would probably need 2 stronger characters in order to overcome like a beast like Awakened Garo. Even with Pre-Woke Garo and Awakened Cockroach, they would be super fast, obviously, but ultimately it probably wouldn't be enough to get the job done here. But you know, I could be wrong. Next question is one I have been thinking about for a while now. Who do you think that the Super Fight tournament would have gone down if Tank Top Master had replaced Saitama/Sharanko? In this scenario, he wasn't messed up by Hero Hunter Garo. Will the power of the Tank Top lead him to victory? Could he and Suiryu beat Monster Bakuzan? Anyway, looking forward to your answers. You rock. Hey, thanks, MrAwsome. You rock too. So I think that he would probably lose to Suiryu, but I think maybe him and Suiryu working together could probably take down Monster Bakuzan. Of course, Goketsu wouldn't have to be there because he would easily solo both of them. But if it was just like Tank Top Master and Suiryu taking on Monster Bakuzan, I have faith that they could probably get the job done. It would be super high diff, but I think they could do it. Paxson D asks, hey Shonen, hope you're doing well, my friend. Hey, I am Paxson. I hope you are as well. Already 1 month down in the new year. It's going by so fast. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Could Bang deflect the atomic slash? How about the flashy slash? Personally, I believe he could, but he might have to be in abandonment. Not sure. How's life going? Any news? How's the channel going? Hope you have a good week, Shonen. I'll see you soon. So thanks for asking, Paxson. I do have some updates that I'm going to be talking about soon. Once the channel hits 50K, I'm going to make an update video talking about everything, so look out for that. But as for Bang deflecting the atomic slash and the flashy slash, man, it's really difficult to say. I mean, I'm sure that he would be able to catch a standard sword slash, because we saw like Awakened Garo obviously was able to catch the atomic slash and then break his sword. But even if Abandonment Bang, which I don't think is as strong as Awakened Garo, I don't know if he could do it. I think it might get the better of him. I think he would have a better chance of like getting out of the way of it rather than deflecting it. I think maybe the atomic slash is a little too fast for him, and then also being said that the flashy slash is probably too fast for him. I think Bang's best bet would just be able to sidestep it or just avoid it at the last moment with his reflexes. I think that's more likely than him being able to deflect it. Phoenix Man asks, greetings Shonen, how have you been this week? I've been doing good, Phoenix Man. I hope you have as well. So we finally got some history in the One Punch Man world. I thought this day would never come. Seemed like One was really going to leave that part of the world ambiguous. And it looks like you called it a My Mask's true nature. You're getting pretty good at this. Hey, thanks, Phoenix Man. You're too kind. My proper question this week is, do you think a My Mask is going to be a tragic villain later on when he starts losing his grip on himself, or will he simply evolve into a sad shell of his former self? Have a good one, Z. So this is a good question. I think that a My Mask probably will keep de-evolving into his monster-fied version of his sanity, or you know what he was alluding to. I think that's probably going to happen considering that it was dropped here. But I think there's a possibility that either he sacrifices himself, like when he knows that he's straight up going to be a monster and that there's no turning back, he might sacrifice himself so that the other heroes could live, or that people can live or something, and that's like his final good deed for humanity. Or he simply does become a monster and he's just lost his humanity completely, and he kind of just goes feral, almost like pseudo feral, and then kind of just goes away, maybe gets defeated by somebody and then goes to his own corner, and then maybe comes back later in the story. And then maybe if it is revealed that God created the monsterification ability, maybe if Saitama defeats him, then it turns My Mask and all of the other monsters back into humans or something like that. ShadowBatX asks, hey, how's your day been? It's going pretty good, ShadowBat. I hope yours is too. So do you think Saitama will indirectly rebuild the Hero Association or form a class of heroes if the Hero Association goes down after its supposed civil war? When he saves the split Shin Kid, he somewhat created the Hero Association. When encountering people or heroes, he somewhat inspires them to move forward. Who knows, maybe a fan of the name of Saitama Group will be a real thing as the story progresses. So do you think it will happen? I do think that it's a possibility, because I think that it's very likely that the Hero Association, or at least the S-Class or something like that, is probably going to fall, and maybe a new association will emerge in the wake of that. So I don't think Saitama will like himself try to make it happen, because we know that he doesn't care that much, but I think that a good candidate to build this new Legion of Heroes or something is King. I think Saitama might like convince King to like be the face of the Hero Association, or like maybe he'll influence or just make King motivated enough to like want to stand up and then everybody's just like, we'll stand by you, king, and then maybe he gets investors and stuff behind him. I think that would be a pretty cool development, like everyone uniting under king, since everyone ultimately respects him anyway. Last question. Have you ever played any of the games from the Yakuza series? Yes, I know the irony after they were after you earlier last year. They are surprisingly great games, and I played through 3 of them just with and a split-off version. And I have a lot of action, surprisingly no great fan service. They're all dubbed in Japanese, but the spin-off can be changed to English. If you choose to play them and not interested in the Yakuza series, you can try the spin-off called Judgment. And the fighting style is so different, I'm sure you're interested in this. But the English voice actor for Garo plays the main protagonist. I am interested. Also, if Bearded Worker took off his suit Yakuza style that reveals him as Blast, that would just be hype in my opinion. Yes, short and sweet again. Sorry if you have to speed run my questions, but anyway, take care. Oh, no, don't worry about it, ShadowBatX. You can ask any questions you want. I just try to get through them fast because I know it annoys people sometimes if I read questions slow or whatever. I mean, it's no problem. P.S. Your video editing definitely went to disaster level above Saitama Shown. Thank you. I'm just trying to get better as much as I can, so I'm trying new stuff as of late. I haven't played any of the Yakuza games, but I am aware of them. Whenever like a new trailer or something like that drops, I always check it out. Like I know a new trailer dropped recently for the game, and I checked it out. I probably won't be playing any of them, but if for some reason I was able to come across like a demo or somebody, I don't know, gave me the game, I don't know, randomly, or if, I don't know, if it was like on sale or something like for $3, I would totally buy it. They do look something I would have fun with. They kind of remind me of like Saints Row, kind of. I'm pretty sure that's the kind of vibe I was getting from it, and those games were fun. Tempest asks, hey Shonen, so I feel like Bang is always super underrated and everyone mentions him only in passing. It seems like I feel like Bang with abandonment could take down every other hero besides King, Tatsumaki, and Blast and Saitama. Just seems weird to me. And my question for what disaster level will Meliodas from 7 Deadly Sins get, and what heroes might he be able to fight competitively with? Love your content, and happy I finally got to help out on the Patreon. Hey, thank you so much, Tempest. I really appreciate your support. So I personally don't think Bang is underrated. I think, as far as I know, at least everybody that I talk to or see comments from, they kind of rate him pretty highly. I mean, he's a consensus high dragon, has some of the best feats in the series. So I think whoever you're been talking to, I think you need to set them straight on Bang. And I agree with you about the abandonment statement. Or, you know, for the most part. I don't really follow 7 Deadly Sins. It's one of the more popular battle mangas that I'm not really too familiar with. Now, I have seen Escanor's feats from the anime. At least him going against that red demon dude and him against Esterosa. And that was super impressive, obviously. So if Meliodas is close to that level of power or even stronger than that, I would say that he's, you know, for sure dragon, even approaching above dragon possibly, depending on how nuanced it gets. I'm not really sure. I mean, I'm sure some people will say that, like, solar system level this and all of that stuff. I'm not really sure. I've only seen what I've seen, you know, of the anime, and it looked pretty impressive. That sun stuff is cool. His durability is great and everything. So, I mean, he could probably take care of most of the heroes. Not all of them, but, you know, once we start getting to the high dragons, then it's probably going to get competitive, but... You know, I only know so much. Water Bottle asks, hello, Shonen, I got a Moomin Rider question today. Do you think that Moomin Rider may be underselling himself when he says that he isn't good enough for B class? I think that he would probably do fairly decent in the B class just through his durability feats alone, but his motivation to do hero work as well, I think, would put him up into the mid to high ranks of B class. It seems to me like his biggest character flaw isn't his strength, but his lack of confidence in his abilities. I think it may be super cool if we got to see his mini character arc and gets one of Saitama's pep talks like with glasses and he begins training. With his heart, I think he could probably make it to A class after a year or two. So what do you think? Should he move up to B class? Maybe he'd even get his motorcycle license back and his new hero name would be Rider at the end of the arc. I think that would be cool. I do think, yeah, for sure he can move up to B class. I mean, he's already pretty much B class level. Like, not high B class, but like mid B class, probably around there. He does have some crazy durability, all things considered. He's just lacking defeats, honestly. I mean, I don't think he's really defeated anyone within the series, and the only win that I can really remember him having was in an audiobook. Like when he defeats the angry grandpa monster, who I think was like a wolf or something. So not too bad, but... I mean, he is super modest. He's almost psychotic to a fault with like how modest and how unrelenting his sense of justice and just doing the right thing is. Like how he jumps in front of Garo getting punched and all that stuff, and how he just threw his life away essentially against Deep Sea King. So it ultimately comes down to him, and he doesn't want to move to B class. He just wants to be like the working class symbol of peace, if you will, kind of. Like, he wants to show that anyone can be good and do the right thing, essentially. And he doesn't need like a status to prove that. Like, he wants to be the symbol of the C class. Like, him moving up to B class would probably just bother him because, like, you know, that's just part of his character. Like, he's just like he's just like unfiltered justice in a way. Like, he's like the true hero almost of all of the heroes in a way. So I mean, I would like it if he got his license back and he gets his motorcycle and he just becomes a rider. I think that would be a cool character arc for him. The one above all patrons, Wolfpup, asks, Bonjour, Shonen. My question is, what's going to happen at Drive Night? Gale Wind and Hellfire. After Tatsumaki flips the Monster Association base, are they going to be on standby? Is Drive Night going to help the S-Class heroes after he tosses Neon inside his cage and comes back to help the heroes? If he does show up, is he going to take on the executives? Shows up when Black S transforms into Golden S, or maybe he pushes Garo into Awakened Garo. Here's a possibility, but I think that Drive Knight is going to watch from afar after the base is flipped, gather the combat data on the executives and the heroes. I don't think it's a far stretch. I mean, he did gather combat data on Neon fighting the support team. For Gale Wind and Hellfire, I'm assuming they're just going to quit the Monster Association before Tatsumaki flips the base or after. Or are they just going to stick around until the end and witness everything? So I do think that you're probably right. I think Drive Night will probably observe. I think that's probably pretty interesting to like see that after everything is all said and done, that he was just there the whole time watching everything, and that he had gathered the data as well as on Awaken Garo and all of the other heroes too, and that just adds to his power, because I don't think he's going to fight anymore in this arc. I think that that's probably done for him, and because ultimately, I mean, I think it's going to come down to him being one of the major villains of the series. Either he's going to be the Mad Cyborg, or he's going to be tied to the Mad Cyborg, and you know, he's probably going to be the leader of the organization. So he's going to be like the end game for Genos, and he's probably going to be ultra powerful by the time that that point comes. So I think it would be really cool if he's gathered like data on Awaken Garo and everyone else at that point. And as for Hellfire and Gale, I mean, they're going to have to show up later on when the Ninja arc happens, because they show up at that point. So they're going to be around for that. I'm not really sure what's going on with them, because we haven't seen them since, I think, chapter 100. So either we'll get like a brief update on them and see them like leave, or maybe they'll leave after the base is pulled out of the ground and then they just escape from the rubble possibly, or we'll just see an update on them sooner or later one of these days maybe, or maybe they'll just be in like a bonus chapter the way that Suiryu was possibly. But I don't see either of them kind of participating anymore, because they all have future storylines down the pipe. So my second question is, if you had to choose one monster from each disaster level to join the Hero Association, who would you choose and why? Here are my four: Mike Wazowski, Kombu Infinity, Devil Longhair, and Brilliant Eagle Mode Phoenix Man. So those are solid picks. I too would pick Mike Wazowski and Kombu Infinity. Those are definitely my picks for Wolf and Tiger. Then for Demon, I would pick Deep Sea King. I think he would be really interesting if he was in the Hero Association. And then for Dragon, got to go with Goketsu. I think he would be a solid pick in there as well. He kind of had somewhat of his, a little bit of his humanity still intact. And my last question is, if Resurrected Phoenix Man challenged Overgrown Rover for his executive position, do you think that he could have beaten Rover? Because we know Phoenix Man in his resurrected form can absorb energy, but Rover, on the other hand, has durability that can probably finish off by ripping his costume apart with his sharp canine teeth if he gets a hold of him. Arigato, sensei. P.S. Between scale of 1 to 10, how awesome are repatriums? Well, you know the answer to that, Wolf Pup. You're a -1. No, I'm just kidding. You're all 10. 10 plus. 11 if that's possible. I love you guys so much, but especially you, Wolf Pup, because you are the one above all. So I think you're right on the money here. Phoenix Man would probably get the better of Overgrown Rover, because he has that major advantage over him by absorbing energy. But it ultimately comes down to like how much is energy coming from those blasts? Is it just all fire? And I know that fire is energy and all that stuff. We're talking about battle manga logistics here. So like, is it more so energy? Can he absorb it all, or is the fire going to burn him? That's a good question. But I think if it's probably just energy based, then Phoenix Man is probably going to be a major advantage over Overgrown Rover in this. He's probably faster than him too, and also he can fly, which is giving an advantage too, and he can like shoot those projectiles from him, and he can resurrect dead people. We could just assume that maybe they're going to be in the vicinity or something. So Can he cut Overgrown Rover? That's the big question, because he is obviously pretty powerful. He cut through Brave Giant pretty easily. So maybe he could, maybe not. But I'd probably put my money on Phoenix Man, given that he just has more advantages than Overgrown Rover does. Juris D asks, hey Z, hopefully you're doing great as well as eating your veggies. Hey, I am doing both, Juris, and I hope you are as well. So my question this week is, who would win, the Cadres or the Akatsuki? Considering Pain has the animal path and can compete with EC, and Hidan could take on Homeless Emperor since he's immortal just like Zombie Man, and maybe Obito's Kamui can trap Black S. I think that the Akatsuki could win this one, and of course I always want to hear your thoughts. So I was already talking about Naruto versus One Punch Man earlier, and like I said, that's going to get me into trouble as well as this. But don't worry, guys, you can ask me any question you want. Haters are going to hate regardless of what I say. But ultimately comes down And I know that the Naruto fandom can be very vicious, like I already established, but I would say that this is ultimately comes down to either or. Like the Akatsuki could win, but also the Cadres could win. And I think the Cadres' power is more like an unhinged, more like wild card type of utility type, as to where with Akatsuki, they're kind of bound by what they can already do, like their pre-existing techniques and the chakra system and the hand seals. And other than that, when they kind of just freestyle, it kind of comes down to like their taijutsu and other stuff like that. So that's why I think the Cadres is probably more versatile in their attack. But I think, you know, like the feats that we see from like Pain with like the Chibaku Tensei, and, you know, ultimately like when Datara does like his ultimate, and when Sasori does his ultimate, those things are pretty impressive. But like when the Cadres do like some serious feats of power, it doesn't seem like they're trying as hard as Akatsuki is. But also, like, if you really do your due diligence and you go like super analyze all of the Akatsuki, super analyze all of the Cadre, and ultimately you can come to your own conclusion and present arguments for really either or winning. I don't think it's a clear, decisive victory for either side, but just personally, if I had to bet on one side winning, just like hypothetically, I would probably put my money on the Cadres. But I really wouldn't be surprised if the Akatsuki won either. That's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Once again, I want to thank all 109 of my incredibly attractive, powerful patrons, guys. I love you so much. Thank you again for all of your support. And to everyone else, if you'd like to be in next week's Q&A, simply check out my Patreon. The $5 tier will give you access to this video. And also, if you haven't subscribed, please do that as well. Have a great day.